that they moved us out of a very amazing old building and dumped us into a more modern old building. So it went from being this like really cool Gothic building built in the 30s. So it was all brick, marble, brass fixtures, all this stuff. It looked fantastic. It looked like a building. I kid you not. I would reference it often to some of the people. It's like, I wanted to get a mannequin, dress said mannequin in a Batman costume, and put that mannequin on the top of the building. It would look perfect to have Batman on that building.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. It had a nice parking space. I literally had a corner office. Oh man, I've arrived. If I made it to the corner office, I am somebody. And so I had a corner office. And then they are in the process of the people that own the building. CEO opted to keep the marketing department away from the corporate. So to keep the corporate from infesting the marketing.
Well, that's how they really feel about you guys, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and it was really good though because I fully agreed with it. It was a book called Orbiting the Hairball, and it was the CEO loved reading it, and just was constantly coming up with whatever the latest thing that made sense. It wasn't just arbitrary, but it was like, in order for marketing to keep its unique stance, we cannot have it devolve into the corporate world. So we're going to keep you guys away from the corporate world so that you can keep with your original thoughts. You don't have to worry about the pressures and the politics that kick in the corporate headquarters, but we're going to keep you in this really cool building so you get that nice vibe. Well, they dumped us into the heart of the corporate building. So when they booted us out of the old building that was full of character, charm, and quirks, and this building was made in the early 80s, and it still has all the early 80s fixtures, fittings, and feel.
Does it have posters on the wall? Because producer Tony would like a couple of them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no. In fact, they built the building crooked, like a parallelogram, so it wasn't like a full 90-degree turn, it wasn't like a cornerstone that would normally be a perfect like rectangle or a perfect square. No, it's a parallelogram, and they built everything off of that. So every office is like a parallelogram. Nothing has a right corner. And then they decided to give us all 1950s, 1960s, not a cool like mid-century modern, what people thought executives in the Midwest want, like these nasty wooden oak desks that are in the shape of a U. These U-shaped desks all have 90-degree turns to them. Well, if your office is a parallelogram, I mean, it is the epitome of, it's like trying to put a round peg in a square hole. They're trying to put a square desk in a rhombus hole. And it's like, this doesn't work. And every office is that way. And now try to put cubicles outside of that. Cubicles also require to be 90 degrees. Nah, because of the shape of this building and that they kept that shape going throughout the inside of it, nothing works. It is the most convoluted. Like, I almost have to call somebody, can you put a piece of cheese in my office so I can find it again? Yeah, and I mean, everybody had their own office, and everybody had a door to said office, and you could decorate your office however you wanted to do that. And so I did. I took advantage of all that aspects. Well, now I don't even call it an office. I call it a cave because there is no door. The wall just ends and then picks up again. And it's like, where's the door? There isn't any. Why? Because this is a modern way of setting things up.
You have to sit with your group.
Yeah. So, and then everybody's in cubicles. Now, as marketing, most of the people were on phones all the time, calling, checking with vendors, checking with business units, checking with all these other things going on. And they're having one-sided conversations. So it's quiet. All of a sudden, that's exactly right, Bill. You're like, what? Who? What? Where's that voice coming from?
We'll go back to the old place, right? And then in the background, the old place like implodes,
Yeah,
and
yeah. You can hear Tommy Kirk with the shotgun in the barn, taking it out like old Yeller.
Yep.
What was that? So that's about the biggest highlight I can give you outside of getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah, it is. By the time we record this, it is almost Christmas. We got, what, 10 days left? 11?
Yeah, yep.
I should probably start getting some presents, I think.
My brother-in-law was notorious for waiting until Christmas Eve morning to buy gifts for his family and extended family.
Yeah.
And under the proverbial guise of, well, it makes the decision making a lot easier because two things, there's like, less things to pick from. So you don't really get to choose what's left.
Right.
There's only 4 items instead of 20.
They didn't have what I was looking for, so I just grabbed this.
And then, then I can just go in, grab something, whatever I see, and then just head out. So there's been times where, well, I would say 90% of the time, whenever we would get something, no one wanted it.
That's when you buy yourself stuff and then give it to other people, and then, they don't want it. I'm gonna keep it for myself.
Don't mind if I do.
That's right.
Yeah. So, it was disastrous. Oh, and then we'd have family gathering on, the in-laws side. He would come in with a shrimp cocktail tray that he had bought from the local grocery store in the Midwest. So that's super fresh shrimp.
Right, yeah. So close by.
Yeah. The shrimp from the Great Lakes,
Right, yeah. I mean, there's some fish I like, but there's not many. Just not that appetizing to me. I'll have, some Culver's fish, or, I grew up on perch from my dad going to Fat Man's every Friday night. Like you guys went for pizza, we went for Fat Man's, and he told us it was chicken, and then eventually I learned it was perch, and by then I was like, okay, this is really good.
Go into Fat Man's fish fry?
Yeah, we did all the time.
Okay, because I realized later on that we had stopped going there for years, and then we went just out of nostalgia, went back in there, just on my own. And I thought, because I remember the hush puppies were fabulous hush puppies.
Yep.
And I looked, and they had that fry medium that just is vat of boiling oil.
Yeah.
And everything went into the same vat of boiling oil.
Right.
And I could not tell you how old that oil was. I can't imagine that they changed that on any regular basis, if at all.
Probably not. By the time, my dad and I would go, it'd be like our little father-son moment. And he was friends with the owner, the original owner anyway, the Fat Man.
Fat Man, not Jake.
No, not Jake and the Fat Man, just the Fat Man.
Yes.
We'd get 2 pounds of perch and a pound of fries or something, and that'd be about it. It's been many years since I went back there. I know there's new owners now and everything, so I'm sure it's not quite the same anyway, but I'm glad that back then I didn't know they all fried it in the same thing too. It's just, you'd rather not know.
Yeah, you wonder, it's like how much of the oil was from catfish, how much of it was through, something else that they just threw it in. It's like everything's deep fried, doesn't matter.
That's what made it taste so good.
That oil was heavily seasoned by everything else. So, you could have had the most exquisite cut fillet of some sort of fish, right? And they just deep fried it right next to the French fries, right next to the hush puppies, and it all tastes more or less the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
How much breading was on the thing?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I just put ketchup on it and tasted it, the same anyways.
But yeah, that was there was a lot of those kind of food items where just like, ooh, that's not what we wanted. And I think I've already mentioned this once before. That was this grandmother that would yell out the front of the house in Kentucky, "Come on in, boys. It's time to eat your wieners."
You're listening to, and this is why I love comic Andy and Mike. Andy and Mike.
Time to eat your wieners.
Yes. And welcome to another episode of This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we are a comic book podcast, but also a wiener podcast.
Yep.
So, welcome aboard. We are here again with a Christmas special. We hope you are having a good holiday, whatever you celebrate. Go for it. We want to talk about DC's Vice and Virtue. Or is it Virtue and Vice? I don't know what it is. It's Virtue and Vice. But I always tend to say the Vice and Virtue because I don't know how to read. And
Thank you, Riff.
yeah, Riff the crime dog? No, wait.
That's McGruff.
McGruff. Take a bite out of crime. So welcome to the show. It's towards the end of 2025, which is frightening. This year just went by so fast.
Yeah, I did. And not just this year. I looked at something that I really could have sworn was earlier this year. And it came up as saying, nope, that was actually from 2023.
Oh, okay. No, not at all. Besides the fact that I haven't been to a comic book store in about 8 months.
Wow.
You know, I've been reading comics lately, so I can't fault that. I've had some time to read in the last couple of days because I've been on my butt side because I had some hand surgery. I have a cast on my hand. The last time I wore a cast was the same arm in first grade. So, you know, it's been a while since I've had to deal with this immobilization. And itchiness, and I don't like it one bit. Not only do I not know what's under this wrap, so it's a mystery of how I'm healing. Itches.
Is it because of the bionics that are kicking in?
I'm
Your body
hoping.
might rejecting it?
I did ask for a bionic hand, and he kind of laughed. And I mean, I at least said, "Can I have a clock or something in it? You know, like a built-in wristwatch." And
Yeah,
I
something
don't.
cool. Like if they put the receiver and the microphone in your fingers.
Ooh, that'd be
So
sweet.
that way you can actually put your thumb to your mouth and your finger to your ear, and it's like, or do the vice versa. Your pinky is the microphone and your thumb's the earpiece.
Right. I could record podcasts with my hand.
Yeah, I mean, why not? There's got to be some empty space in your fingers now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but I think they removed a bone, and so I got empty space. I had some tendonitis and some issues with when you get old, our listeners, you get something called arthritis. And Arthur is not a nice person.
No.
Arthritis was grinding my thumb into my joint, and there was not any reason for it to be painful except for that I had worn out anything that had absorbed any of the pain before in life, and so it was just
cartilage.
Bone against bone. And so I voluntarily, I gotta remind myself I did this. I said, yeah, let's do this surgery. I'm hoping that I'm put one of the, 85% that have good things come out of this surgery. So there's that. So it's been a weird, wacky timing. You know, we're moving things around in the house, furniture and stuff, trying to get bedrooms situated. And of course, now I can't move squat. And I didn't plan it that way.
I was going to say, is this part of the volunteer? It's like, you want to do what around the house?
Hey, there's a surgery coming up. Yeah. I like to be a part of that kind of stuff. So this is not me that I just sitting around getting waited on. My wonderful wife is, of course, taking care of me. My kids are doing everything they can as well. Not finding it as fun as I would have in my 20s.
Yeah.
calling my 21-year-old. I know you're 45 minutes away, but can you come over here and pick up this bottle and hand it to me, please?
Yep. What about your other hand? That's fine. No.
No. Told not to use it.
Yep, I don't want to. I don't want the same thing to happen to this hand that's happened to this one. Were you out for this thing, or did they fillet your wrist?
Well, okay. So a couple years ago, I actually had a tumor in this hand. So my left arm is my villain in my body.
God, what are you, Two-Face?
They got it out, and for some reason, I don't know if I told this in the podcast in the past, I chose to stay awake during that operation, and said just do a local, and I'll just, you can take the tumor out and then sew me back up. And it was the most frightening thing I've ever sat through in my life. You could hear them halfway through the surgery go, "Oh, he's bleeding more than normal. We should get some more blood in here." And I'm like, "What? I heard that, right? I'm awake." And so,
what's this thing do?
And then I start sweating during this procedure because I'm hearing all this stuff, and I can't feel it, but when they say you can't feel it, you could still feel tugging and stuff. Like, you could still feel movement. They didn't cut your arm off and then do it and then put it back on.
It's not like a Lego hand.
Right. Can I have a washcloth on my forehead? Because I'm just sweating here listening to you guys. So the long story longer, I chose for this to get put out. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going through that. No way. So yeah, I got to the room. They put me out. I woke up happily an hour later, hour and a half later, and had no idea what went on. I highly recommend just, if you can take the anesthesia, just do it.
Yeah.
Have you broken a bone?
No, but I've had one surgery thus far, and that was, outside like wisdom teeth extraction, but I had that nose thing where I think they call it a deviated septum, where like the cartilage in your nose and the bone part of your bridge of your nose don't align. And one went to the right, the other one went to the left, and they continue to grow. And it started giving me breathing problems. And they said, well, if it continues to have this problem, we'll have to have some surgery when you're in your late teens. So that was the only one I had. And that was it. Beyond that, nothing broken. And that one they had to break because they had to kind of line things back up. But that was broken during the operation, and not that I broke it.
You know what I've been really enjoying in comic books? Let's bring it to comic books here.
Okay. 41 minutes into it. Why not?
41 minutes into it, edited down to like 10. But I've been reading the first Starman omnibus.
Okay. Is this the Jerry Robinson, or not Jerry Robinson?
James Robinson. Tony Harris, enjoying every minute of it.
Oh, great.
Like, it holds up wonderfully.
Certainly his writing didn't hold up on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie.
No, not at all. This book is gorgeous. It was drawn gorgeous, written in the 90s. Could easily have been a Vertigo title.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember. Did he have a trench coat? Because that's a 90s thing.
No, he did not.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of artsy. Like, this Starman was kind of artsy with tattoos, and he had a big staff, and it was a prototype of his father, the original Starman's cosmic rod, and it kicked butt. And I was collecting it at the time too, and had sold them off. And I do remember when I thought it jumped the shark, and I'm waiting to get to that issue to see if I still agree with that. I don't think it's in the first omnibus, though. I think it's in the second one. But excellent stuff. I didn't know if I would like it, but reading it again, I was like, yeah, okay. This still. Have you been reading anything that is actually good?
I wouldn't say excellent, but I will say fun for what it was. And, I've been doing a lot of dollar bin diving the last few months. And a couple of key things that I've been going through, two elements, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, was John Byrne's Superman run. And this is the Superman, not the Action Comics. I already read those, but I never did get his run on Superman. And I'm only, I think, one issue away from completing that run.
Nice. I have them all if you want them.
But there's fun about finding them in the wild. So
There
I'm not going to
is.
discount, but there's fun about just going like, hey, it's in the dollar bins, because I could go to a shop and pick it up,
Easily.
for like $2 or whatever it is. I don't even know. But there's about going to the dollar bin and unearthing a gem, of some sort. The other one that I've been picking up is don't know what compelled me. I don't know if it was just because I want to make certain I can find things in the dollar bins that are like, okay, yep, that fits into that gap. Not necessarily I want to read, but the gap. Collector, completer, or whatever you want to call it. I'm really tempted to get the new universe run.
Okay.
And I have the bulk of it already now.
Oh, do ya?
So yeah, because I mean, there's a part where it's like, it's definitive. There is no like, now we're on issue 810, and it's like, nope, they didn't make 810 issues of any of those. The longest runs that they had were like 32 issues, and only a few of them made it that far. Most of them ended within like 12.
Yeah.
So now I say that there is one in particular that will be the last, and I referred to it as my Pee Wee Herman running into the animal shop, the pet shop, and passing the snake pen time and time again to rescue the other animals, and then ultimately having to just concede to the fact and grabbing all the snakes. It was a comic called Merc. I don't know what it is. I'm just not really like a war comic type guy. And not that he was a war comic, but even the Punisher, I just not really into just, I don't know, just guns ablazing type characters, I guess. And so I kind of, I'm like, maybe I'll get that. But I mean, I've got just about everything else, code name Spitfire to Night Mask, Starbrand. And speaking of John Byrne, he took over Starbrand at the very end of it.
Yeah, that's true.
So
is that DP7 too?
Yep, DP7. They had a pretty extensive line of comics for the new universe. Yeah. I could see why it didn't take off.
Now going back to your Superman, John Byrne,
mm-hmm.
Of course, some of our most popular episodes, 82, 83, 84, was our Superman episodes. We did the Man of Steel series with John Byrne. We did the Marvel or the DC movie, the Man of Tomorrow we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
James Gunn and what we thought was coming out in the movie. Pretty popular episodes now if you haven't checked out our Superman stuff. Of course, John Byrne was our winner of Best Artist brackets ever. Winner, and beat out the legendary George Perez. So there's episodes if you're new to the station to check it out. That does remind me, we do have a comment from Mr. Matt 10.0 who's talking about our Civil War episode. Our Marvel Civil War episode.
We're in trouble. Yeah, while you're looking that up, I was going to say that I just got it, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm super looking forward to reading it. I just need to get past one more, I think, issue of the Byrne Superman. I had funded a Kickstarter. God, I don't remember how long ago. That's the joys of Kickstarter, is you just don't remember when these things happened, and then when they show up, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. But this particular Kickstarter was a remastering of Alex Toth's Zorro. He had done Zorro years and years and years back, and Alien Books was the name of the publisher, did a Kickstarter to bring it back. And they colorized it again, which I didn't think it needed colorization, but they did a tasteful adaptation in color. It was beautiful Alex Toth artwork, his handwritten lettering, just the classic swashbuckling feel of the Walt Disney Zorro era. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down and reading that. And I got the PDF they just released, and the hardcovers coming in the mail.
A lot of Toth good stuff. I still got to get into that. I still have missed the boat on him, and I need to go back and learn how to swim with him. Okay, so Civil War was our last episode we got out, 87. And Matt 10.0, friend of the show, he said in comments to our, it was okay. He said, I think the real magic of Civil War was in the actual titles like ASM. It got more into the repercussions of outing the heroes, the events in ASM. It led to Back in Black Arc and other cool things, which were fantastic reads. So maybe we should review some of the side titles at some point and see if we agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, when you're that continuity heavy. Because I remember what Secret Wars, the ramifications, that thing was gone. Spider-Man had the black costume. And I was like, well, what does all this mean in the ongoing series? Because, the the Secret Wars was continuing, and they would have to have the ramifications roll out into the regular books. So it's like, okay, this is done now. Secret Wars is over. Mattel, you got your toy line out of it. Congratulations. Now Marvel's got to, contend with what's going to happen here. And yeah, series is over. We saw Captain America in his underwear, and we can move on.
Oh, that was the best too.
Yeah. What else is there that, is in the title, like going forward, what's going to play out? And that sounds like what he was referencing is like, the other books, because of the tight continuity, you gotta have if Spider-Man says he's Peter Parker in this book, what happens in his own title? There's got to be J. Jonah Jameson. There's got to be all these other things that are popping through. So, yeah, I can see how that would play out.
Also, I wanted to add our Road to 100 episodes contest is up and running. We do have a couple entries so far. Also, enter to win. Just listen at the end of the show where our our friend Gus will describe how to win and how to enter. We should probably give him a name, but I don't know.
What was Harvey? That was the Jimmy Stewart movie with the invisible rabbit that only he could see.
Oh, I only know Harvey, the Wonder Hamster from Weird Al.
I'm glad we both have a reference to the word Harvey that probably no one else knows. That's Harvey
the Wonder Hamster.
Oh, dang, that's funny.
But we really should get to JLA, JSA, Virtue and Vice. The one shot with a cover date of February 2003. It's published on December 4th, 2022. Of course, it was written by Jeff Johns, David Goyer, pencils by Carlos Pacheco, Guy Major is colorist, Ken Lopez is the letterer, and Dan Raspler and Stephen Wecker were the editors. Bum, 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 bum. It's kind of a Thanksgiving story, just more of like
Die Hard is kind of a Christmas movie,
right? It's a holiday. It's in the background, but really it has nothing to do with anything other than a gathering, which those two groups have been gathering since the 60s. Crises have changed how they do it, but they've still been doing it since back then. Carlos Pacheco art, I loved. I'm going to say that right now. I know he is passed, but his art style is, I think I got familiar with it when he was doing some Green Lantern stuff, like the new Hal Jordan coming back afterwards, Green Lantern #1, kind of Jeff Johns. He was doing some of that, and he also did some of the Superman Batman first title that came out back with Jeff Loeb.
Yeah, after McGinnis,
after McGinnis did it, Pacheco took it over and did like a 6-issue one. and I loved every bit of that as well. Just love his stuff. It's one of those that is simple, and yet you can identify it real quick as this artist, and I just like the flow of his panels, I like the cut of his jib, and I really like the art style. Just another artist that died too early. Boy, there's a lot to say on this book, and then there's also not a lot to say on this book. It's one of those weird crossovers that, I mean, this was a one-shot. It wasn't even part of any particular series. Like the Justice Society had just kind of made a return. Jeff Johns was headlining the new title and probably wanted to make the gathering between the two groups a thing again, and then had this idea. What did you think of this story?
I will say, story-wise, it was good for a one-shot. If it were anything beyond that, I would have been like, man, yeah, it didn't need to overstay its welcome. And I thought it was just long enough. I didn't think that there was a lot of superfluous stuff. So I liked it. I still have a ton of questions because I don't know a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
I was never really, oddly enough, even though I had comics that had the JSA characters in it, like I had a bunch of all-star comics that Wally Wood had done, and some of these other All-Star Squadron. I had that series. I had a couple issues there. So I've had comics with these characters. In fact, I think the one issue that is probably the most relevant to this one, and that was like the death of the Justice Society, or the final days or something like that. The last days of the Justice Society.
Yeah,
it was kind of
going
like
to Ragnarok.
Yeah, and it stuck them into a pocket universe, and they fought at the end of the universe or whatever in Ragnarok, and they kind of got stuck in a loop.
Yeah, definitely ties into this one.
Yeah, so, but I couldn't, again, because of DC's fluctuating continuity, I couldn't tell if this was, obviously it wasn't New 52 because it was Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern.
Wally West was the Flash.
Yeah, so there's a lot where I'm like, okay, this was existing continuity before Zero Hour and all the other rewrites in history, because Hawkman was there and he was just part of, but then the Hawk Girl kind of had that newer look. So Hawkman had the classic golden age or silver age look of Hawkman, but then Hawk Girl had more of the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah. Well, this was the early 2000s was like the Jeff Johns renaissance of a bunch of characters and stuff. He had just started the Justice Society book again and kind of revamped all these guys after they'd been in kind of limbo for a while. And, the introduction of, characters like Kendra Saunders, Hawk Girl. You had, definitely a new Mr. Terrific. You had the Star Spangled Kid. Which is based off of Jeff Johns' sister. You had the reemergence of Captain Marvel and Black Adam and all these characters that he really loved. They were definitely trying to push out these characters again and try and get a base. I was all in. Jeff Johns could do no wrong back then for me. He's since probably the opposite, but back then he was doing a lot of things I really liked. He would bring Dr. Fate kind of to the forefront again, which I was always for. And so he was trying really hard, just kind of made his way into DC Comics and was starting to make changes. So I appreciated a lot of what he had done, especially in this early run of Justice Society. So this was probably closer to Zero Hour than it was to 52. New 52, since Zero Hour was probably 94, 95.
Okay.
But still kind of like in between there. Confusing start. Suddenly these characters who had gathered, because Luthor was, of course, President Luthor back towards the 2000s. He had run for office and won. Suddenly these characters were defending President Luthor. And of course, there's a new God reference, because nothing happens in this podcast without having the new gods being involved. Dr. Bedlam was, sent from Darkseid. Well, actually, I don't know if Darkseid was really involved as I'm thinking of that story. It did get a little confusing because they didn't explain why suddenly some of the superheroes were showing more vice and virtue. More vice than virtue until like mid-book when they actually showed who they were being possessed by. Spoiler alert. I can see what you're saying. This is a one-shot. They didn't need to do a 3-issue miniseries on it. I did, as the story went on, there were characters since you didn't read the JSA, you didn't have any idea who some of these JSA villains were. And some of them were relatively new anyway. Not just the new Despero was one thing, but Johnny Sorrow was another character that you didn't really have a clue about unless you read this. They kind of drew everything back to these villains. While I'm not sure the Rock of Eternity was a great addition to this, it certainly made sense when you find out it's the sins, the 7 deadly sins of the Rock that were possessing these characters. It made them all turn bad, and some of them turned really, really bad. Right, Power Girl?
I'll hit that up in a little bit, but I'll let you continue on the overview of this.
Kind of pull things out. Some of the characters get teleported, kind of pushed out of the way so the other characters can shine, only to come back later. It was kind of all over the place, but I kind of liked that it was all over the place because I didn't necessarily know what to expect. They went to the Tower of Fate and then Limbo, and then there was Supergirl and Power Girl and all these characters. Alan Scott was, throwing portals around and black holes, and there was a lot of good characterization involved. Maybe he tried too much, but for me, the story worked out pretty good. I was entertained. I didn't know what was going on. To me, that felt good. Like this was like an old time superhero story that didn't need to be drawn out 10 issues.
Yeah. It was concise. Like I said, I didn't know the characters, but I didn't feel like I had to know them. Like I wasn't like, I needed a deep dive into each of the characters' backstory. I knew enough, and they gave enough representation to kind of get an understanding of what and why they were doing what they were doing.
Yeah, and both the bookends of the book were, the Superman and Alan Scott Green Lantern up above the Earth, looking out onto the Earth. They were on the moon, looking out onto the Earth, and just kind of appreciating where they were and what they wanted for humankind. I really liked those bookends. They were, it was like the old guard and the new guard. At least DC current continuity. I'm not sure. Of course, Superman's the original, but not anymore.
Yeah. At one point, they were partners in the Justice Society, and now just kind of like
Right. That darn crisis messes everything up. To be probably the highlights was the brief appearance of Captain Atom, just seeing Despero, one of the original villains of the 60s. Even though it's a different version, they kind of evolved him or whatever. But
show him in a couple panels as the old version of him, the skinnier guy in a suit.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure which one I like more. I think I like them both for different reasons. Certainly more menacing as a giant telepathic creature, but he also loses some humanity that way. And
the threat level becomes more visually apparent as opposed to a sense of drama of like, oh man, impending turmoil or existential crisis, as opposed to I'm just going to be a brute force that's going to be punching you guys.
Right. And there's, something to be said about both. I kind of maybe like the intellectual one enough because there's enough powerhouses out there to use. But
Yeah.
I do think I like the stronger Despero, big brute guy, only because when they finally evolved him like that, that was like just like Europe or something like that. And I was reading it at the time, and it made a lot of like the storyline that was doing that made a lot of sense. So I kind of accepted it. It felt good during that time. So I kind of evolved with the character a bit.
I do like the fact that fin that's on the top of his head rotated 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Because it was more like one, is it called frayed lizard or whatever that thing's called, where it's got the fins that kind of go up. Like the dinosaur that killed Newman in the first Jurassic Park.
Right.
His headgear was like that in the original appearance of him, and then it became more savage dragon.
Yeah, Mohawk, yeah. Shark fin kind of.
Yeah, lionfish looking thing.
And I like those characters. I like anything that brings me back to the early Justice Leagues, even if it's a modification of it.
I was a little taken aback by the fact that when he took over the minds of the people, it kind of looked like Starro a little bit. I'm not familiar enough with the Despero character to go like, okay, but where Starro takes over people, the starfish is on their face.
Yeah.
When Despero takes over people, it's that third eye appears on their face.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah. Starro would have been a great addition to that, like a trio of villains in this book. It would have made maybe a little more sense. DC likes to represent mind control with the simple visual on their face.
Yeah. I am a bit confused in some aspects as well, as that there was an Atom in the Justice Society, and then they kept the Atom in. Did they change his name when the Silver Age? Ray Palmer, I don't know if that's the same guy.
Nope. Alan Pratt was the first Atom.
Okay.
And then Ray Palmer was, the shrinky Atom.
Yeah.
Because the first Atom didn't shrink. He was just strong.
Yeah. But he was a smaller guy, though, right?
Yes. He was like 4 or something.
Yeah.
Kind of like, the original Wolverine was stocky and short.
Yeah. But they kept like the JSA version of him. Did he come back as the Atom, or is that Atom Smasher, or what name did they give him? I'll head like most every one of these characters. I was looking at the classic roll call for both teams. They did the splash page, and they were like, "Here's the Justice League," and the characters that comprise the Justice League. And then here's the Justice Society. And some of them, they kept the name, like Dr. Midnight, Our Man, Wildcat. Those guys are all kind of stayed the same. Sandman became Sand. I'm like, okay, I'm lost. And then Green Lantern is now Sentinel, but you kept Captain Marvel, you kept Hawkman.
Oh, well, let's go back to a little Justice Society background here, of course. Now, when the original Justice Society came out, they did change a few, but the Atom, the original Atom, the Al Pratt Atom, he still did exist. His, I think it's his nephew is Atom Smasher now. Like, eventually the JSA Atom gained some powers, like some little extra super strength and stuff, and that was passed on to his nephew, who does become Atom Smasher. Back then, they wanted only one Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, so they changed Alan Scott to Sentinel, and he became more of a magical being, made him even more immortal. Sand is actually the Sandman sidekick. It was Sandman and Sandy. And then when Sandy grew up, he just became Sand because he could change into sand.
Okay, so it wasn't, and not to be confused with Sandy Duncan.
No, or just the sand you get on the beach.
I hate it. It gets everywhere.
It's everywhere. I hate sand. Captain Marvel, at that time, Jeff Johns loved him so much he put him in the JSA. Of course, Captain Marvel would eventually be in the Justice League anyway. Hour Man, I think this Hour Man was the son of the original Hour Man. I think this Dr. Midnight was just a fellow co-worker of the original Dr. Midnight. I'm trying to think if that was the original. But other than that, they're all the originals.
Okay. And then if they're the originals, then what's Black Canary doing in Justice Society?
Well,
He and Green Arrow were an item in Green Arrow's in Justice League, but
that's true. Well, back in the Justice League America original series, Black Canary was an original Earth 2 character. And she eventually crossed over into Earth 1 back in, I think it was like issue 75 of the original series. And eventually Crisis warped her origin a bit. Her mom was in the JSA, and then she was always in the JLA. So there was 2 Black Canaries. I think that is still how it is, but now just one Earth again. But because of her mom's history with the JSA, this Black Canary joined this group rather than the Justice League.
Okay.
So, yeah, a little complicated.
Yeah, I mean, trying to sort all that stuff out, because like this roll call doesn't call, all of them have their super name. You know, it's like Mr. Terrific. Obviously, that's not his real name. Right. Dr. Fate. He probably didn't go to doctor school. And then it just shows Jay Garrett. Like, why is it not Flash?
Can't call him the Flash. There's already 3,000 Flashes. Yeah, he's just better known as Jay Garrick. I think they even call him the Flash in the book. So I think it's just to differentiate it for you, the lucky reader.
Yep, the first time reading this, and it's like everybody else has got, you know, their code name. And then was Vixen part of like the Detroit Justice League, and she was like one of the sole people who made it the cut?
Yeah, she survived the deadly ending of the Detroit League.
Because Martian Manhunter and her, but Vibe
and Steel and Gypsy. Well, I guess Gypsy survived too. So it was just the 2 men who died. But yeah, Vixen is thrown around a lot. It's a cool character, and it happens to be a minority character, so they want to use her more. And I've always liked her character. I don't think they do enough with her. Threw her in this timeline book. I don't remember the version of the League at the time. Like, what was 2003? Was that right before Grant Morrison's? I don't think it was.
True. But, well, Plastic Man's in it.
Well, that's true, and that was Grant Morrison, wasn't it? Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I know we did the first 5 issues of the Grant Morrison one, but I'm trying to remember what year that was without looking it up. But you know what?
While you're contemplating that, I want to ask you other things that are missing. And I know this is always kind of
like morals.
The question I have is the very first page. I see a glaring problem, but I'm not gonna I do feel like there's a need to address it. It shows, and I know that there's been some continuity things where they say that the Earth of the DC universe is like a third bigger than our Earth or something like that, in order to fill all the coastline, to have big cities, you know, in order to have Metropolis there and New York, and that they kind of make it bigger. This comic opens up with, as you said, Superman and Sentinel looking upon the Earth and kind of discussing the various, you know, like, wouldn't it be great if everybody could see the Earth here and just the peace that it has from this distance? Where's Antarctica? There are 5 panels on page 1, and they all focus on the Earth, and then clearly that's supposed to be Africa and the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. but there is zero Antarctica. And I'm not talking like flat Earth. I'm talking like there's just a continent missing.
Well, in the DC universe, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Antarctica doesn't exist because Superman with the giant Fortress of Solitude
took it over.
Took it. No, I don't know. I don't actually know why the Antarctica's not showed up on there, but it should have.
Yeah, at that angle, it would have been there. And then I'm kind of goofing around a little bit, but like in Star Wars, there's blue milk. That was kind of the joke, right? It's like, oh, what are they? Got to make
Still is.
So the question mark is, they show like Batman is on patrol duty or monitor duty, right? Mr. Terrific is making a plate of something and hands it to Batman. It's like, hey, I got you this. No, there's this huge buffet. These superheroes have made this giant buffet, and then they give Batman a plate of mystery stuff. And I have no earthly idea, and why would it be a heaping pile? It's just massive. Like, no one would eat that much of anything, let alone Batman. And then it's just this white with brown chunks.
Is it like rice?
Dish is that mashed potatoes? Is that rice? Right. Not that it matters. But at the same point, what the heck is that? And why so much of it?
Maybe Mr. Terrific knows Batman's weaknesses.
Yeah,
white yams. I don't know. Mashed potatoes with no gravy.
Yeah. This time we didn't forget the gravy. Yeah, and then I'm also one of these so as a kid we'd draw comics of our own. We'd create our own characters, or we'd draw somebody else's characters. And I remember drawing like Mr. Fantastic stretching, and he would just make loops with his arms. And one of my brothers saying, like, if there's no need for him to stretch, don't make him stretch, or like in a weird angles. And he was right about what he was saying, because it's like, yeah, that's true. There's no reason for him to have, just made swirls out of his arms. But there is a point in which Plastic Man is nothing but always stretching. Does he have to stretch all the time? It's a little pet peevish almost, but it's like, I get it. He's Plastic Man, and I know he can do this, but man, every panel, he's rubbering it out.
I almost accept that as Plastic Man because he's so wonky and a crazy character. But, Elongated Man, same thing. But I almost think it's the artist going, I'm sick of drawing these normal people. Yep. Can I please have something interesting to do? Oh, look, Plastic Man. I'm going to have him wrap around this pole and then look with his eyes down at Wonder Woman's cleavage. I think it's more of the artist just desperate for something more interesting to draw than Superman's cliff jaw,
I will say, when the comic revealed the characters being taken over by the 7 deadly sins in the Rock of Eternity, I felt like, most of them, I could see why they were chosen in that position. Mr. Terrific, his name implies that he is full of himself. No one, kind of like, Mr. Fantastic, would ever dub themselves that unless they had an overdeveloped sense of pride. So It made sense that Mr. Terrific became Pride. And then Batman was anger. Perfect. Makes sense. You have to know a little bit about Plastic Man to get his greed, that he was a crook. He was a burglar in a previous life until he stumbled across something that gave him his powers, and then
reformed,
trying to reform ever since. So that makes sense. Then it gets a little bit like, and then I will say, anybody who has a costume that Power Girl has makes a lot of sense category to fall in. The other ones are where it gets a little like, I'm going to say Envy has Green Lantern on it because it's green with envy. That is my guess.
I also came to that conclusion, so I don't think you're wrong. By the way, Grant Morrison's JLA was 1997, so this is like 50 issues later. But yeah, Green with Envy certainly.
But it's the last two that I'm like, why Captain Marvel for gluttony and why Dr. Fate for sloth? Any particular idea as to what triggered both of those to be?
Not that I am, nothing that I've tied to anything. I think they, it was more, which of these characters can I bring, to the Fate Tower and stuff like that. But no, not that I can think of. Maybe, I don't know, because it wasn't even Kent Nelson, was it? No, it was Kent Nelson.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed a little like out of, the other characters. Yep, Batman anger. Yep, that was what drove him. Vengeance / anger, whatever, is what's a key driving force. But Captain Marvel is gluttony. It's like, if anybody should be immune to the 7 deadly sins, you'd think Captain Marvel, because that's his enemy base.
Right, and he's got the wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah, that he would not succumb to one of his own enemy kind of things.
I thought the same thing. Like, why? And then you have Black Adam in there too. It's like, okay, you have two people who should be immune to this, these characters, at least, or should at least be fully knowledge on what's going on instantly. And nope, not at all. Yeah. They have no clue.
I will say, and I know there's not a whole lot you could do necessarily that would be different, but the Searcher, or whatever you want to call him, from the DC universe looks an awful lot like the Surtur from the Marvel universe.
Yeah, which came first?
I don't know, because I would assume I've got a feeling that I just don't know how far back this Surtur that Walt Simonson, but I know he was even prior to that this character existed.
Right.
I think it might have even been during Kirby's run. And then the whole Asgard part, I don't think kicked in until that, the final days of the Justice Society, or whatever that was called, the last days.
Right. I kind of pulled that out of nowhere too.
Yeah. So it's like, Now, granted, we know he's a fire giant. We know that he's just a big, clumsy ogre of a giant. But man, there's a lot of similarities there. There was a nice amount of surprises with, Lex. You always knew that he was the villain, but you didn't understand what happened and why, Lex was the villain. And then to see the heroes of sorts bow down to him. There was a character in the background bowing to Lex, and I don't know who that character is. And I know this makes for a great podcast talking about a drawing, but it's a character who almost looks like Orion, but I don't know, because it's like the 7 deadly sins is like, okay, there's 4 there, and then it's like, that's not, one of the 7 that were shown to be, part of the grouping. So I don't know who this character in red is, unless that's supposed to be Plastic Man.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where you're at.
Oh, sorry. I don't have the page number in this digital form.
I only have one hand, so I'm going through this book here.
Page after page. Page 47. He's holding a sword. He's got spiky shoulder. Everybody else looks the same, but it's like, if that's Plastic Man, why the costume change, and why you only see him in that costume?
Oh, yeah. That does look like Orion, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know what's going on, who, because the very next page they show,
it's Plastic Man.
But why? Why does he look like that? I'm not quite following.
Because he's hilarious. That's why.
It's one of his kookiness.
Right. Because drawing Plastic Man as Plastic Man is boring.
Yeah, and he's got a sword and everything. Yeah, it's like it threw me off because I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know who
Right.
this character is. But I did like the fact that it was the reveal of Lex was actually Despero all along. So it wasn't Lex really pulling the strings, but Despero.
Right. He's not a
And
bad guy.
yeah, so it's like, oh, okay. So, and I didn't know who the villain is with the mask. That was the
Yeah.
character I wasn't familiar
Johnny
with.
Sorrow.
Yeah, yeah. But as long as he keeps the mask on, you're okay. But once he sees his real face, so I thought, there was just enough for me to keep going, to keep on, I could follow along as to what's happening and, the characters that I wasn't familiar with. I was just a little confused as to like why was Captain Marvel the gluttonous one,
Right.
But all that to say, I mentioned earlier that when we were reading Secret Wars, we got to see Captain America in his sleep garb or his underwear or whatever you want to call it. But this issue, and I say but with intent, we have a naked Lex Luthor on a page to kind of like for all the ladies out there, if you ever wanted to see what Lex Luthor looks like, and he is a completely hairless individual.
He looks pretty good, doesn't he? I mean, come
Yeah, he's
on.
pretty fit.
For being, back in the 30s, created, he's a pretty buff dude now.
Yeah.
He's not some sniveling scientist losing his hair because Superboy,
Yeah, I will seek
he's a
revenge.
man. At least he's not sleeping with the Hulk. But speaking of who's sleeping with who here, I think you missed the elephant in the room. Did you not? Last I checked, Power Girl and Superman were cousins. Power Girl lays one on Mr. Clark Kent.
Oh, yes.
So hard that Lois felt it. It was super smooch. And I don't know, sure, she's being controlled, quote unquote, but they couldn't pick somebody else for that. I mean, that was a little, whoa. I'm sure everybody reading that in 2003 that was under 20 was like, whoa, I got to go to my bunk.
Yeah.
And
Game of Thrones wasn't kicking in at this point, so
right.
You didn't have the Lannister lineage on Krypton.
Yeah, we talked about that in the Civil War as well with some Johnny Storm, Sue Storm action. And
Yeah.
we get it again here with some Kryptonite action, Kryptonian action. And yes, dear listener, you could argue that she's from Earth 2, he's from Earth 1 nonsense of, they're not really related because of different universes. But this is where they're all in the same universe. This isn't pre-crisis. And regardless of what version you've read, this, you find out later this Power Girl was from Earth 2, I think. And, she bounces around as all kinds of different origin stories. But let's be honest, that's Supergirl there kissing Superman. And that just gives me the creeps.
And she didn't do like Luke and Leia. This is for luck. This was for lust.
That's right. She was lusting after him. He had to take a super shower after that.
Yeah, it's not coming off.
He had to heat vision his face again.
Yeah, a little dermabrasion there to take a layer or two off.
Right. It's just one of those Captain America Hulk moments yet again in a comic book.
Here's a question for you. I'm trying to remember as well in the DC continuity, and I don't think they brought it up at all. Dr. Fate being Sloth pulls several of the characters, obviously evenly distributed number of characters from the Justice Society and the Justice League.
Of course.
And they throw them into, the tower, right?
Yep.
Dr. Fate's headquarters. And it's this kind of like MC Escher, things are at different angles. And it's this infinite space, kind of TARDIS like on the inside. Is this also the same era when George Perez did the Theraskirma, whatever, I can't pronounce it correctly, to
Paradise
look
Island?
like this as well?
Oh, well, that was back in '85. Was Themyscira's little MC Escher look? So,
Yeah. But wasn't that in the same continuity though?
technically, yes, I think. I don't know.
So
It's
she
hard
should
with
have
all
had no
those.
problem in this kind of setting.
Right. Probably not. Yeah, she should have been very natural to it. I'm trying to think if they had changed an origin here or there, but I really am not sure anymore about DC's ongoing conversion of continuity. But yeah, I mean, shortly after the Crisis, Wonder Woman got that revamp, and the gods, Olympus and stuff was all MC Escher and stuff like that. So I'm sure she'd been through it before. So yeah, that would be a weird thing to do. Plus, all the JSA characters by that point had been there a couple times anyway. I don't know. It was just one of those probably fun for the artist.
Yeah.
Again, not quite continuity opposed. Comic books.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to throw something else, and I know this is very, very minor, and I don't know if it's exactly, I doubt it, but I didn't realize that, they went so heavy with the Egyptian theme for Dr. Fate. Again, I like the character, love the character, think it was great, but I'm also of Dr. Fate of a certain era. They changed him up a lot for the Justice Society book, that, his costume and things have more Egyptian overtones, and the guardians of this tower are basically more or less mummies. Way back when I worked on a product line for a kids cartoon called Mummies Alive. You may or may not remember it at all. I think it only ran one season, but it was like this kid who was like more or less a reincarnation or something like that, activated an amulet and called back to life these Egyptian mummies, and they all had their own unique power. And it was kind of like a mix of, like Thundercats and all the other characters. But this is early 90s, I would say, 1990s, somewhere in there was Mummies Alive. So look it up, kiddos. The guardians of this tower look a lot like one of the characters from the Mummies Alive series.
okay, those mummy characters, I don't know if they're agents of Ra or Set, or they did. He did a lot of Egyptian things back then. I think part of it was to tie him with Hawkman's Egyptian.
Okay.
Because Jeff Johns was writing the Hawkman series, and he had a whole part where Naboo, the original Dr. Fate, was kind of like an advisor to Hawkman's original reincarnation character back in Egypt. And so I think that he kind of tied him in with that a bit. I do know that when were they Anubis? Maybe they were agents of Anubis. That tied into the 0 Hour Fate character who had all the implements of Dr. Fate, but it was melted down like into a sword. And
the dagger.
Shurikens or, whatever. And they were a part of that. They were also the part that killed Fate at the end of his series and kind of reverted back to Dr. Fate. So I'm not sure how Jeff Johns tied him back into being guardians of the tower. Maybe I missed that sentence or something, but it's all related to Fate now. And
because there's a page where it does say, like, the zombies, Sentinel, the sons of Anubis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember, the Dr. Fate I recall had like Lords of Order and Lords of Chaos.
Yeah, and I think they still kind of, like Naboo still is a Lord of Order, but I think they've kind of gotten away from the Keith Giffen order versus chaos kind of ideas, and maybe not. I'm not sure about the current Dr. Fate, what his status is with the order, but it goes back and forth. Like any other character in DC, they want to change him so radically different than what the original, what people liked about the character originally, and then eventually they go back to it anyway.
Yeah, the status quo's you can't deviate too far without it reverting right back to where it came, full circle.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. That's another character they just need to leave as is, and maybe even just have them show up as guest appearances and just make him a mystery again and just leave it at that. I don't think, as much as I love the character, he doesn't need his own series, maybe, mini series or something like that, but just leave him in part of the mysterious DC past.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to just, because like the Phantom Stranger, it's like just don't give him an origin. Don't really explain his powers. Just let him be the Phantom Stranger. Yeah.
Right. Let him be Tom Bombadil and just go out there and and be immune to everything, and then away he goes.
Yep. Yeah, this power that be. What are your thoughts? Okay, I'm gonna talk something grisly, and then to say another thing. Okay, I'm gonna like you're in a heavy trafficked area, right?
Yep.
I'm just hypothetically saying there's a lot of cars that are coming up and down. Somebody has an auto accident and a person in the car perishes. And then they come, the family members, extended family comes by and is like, hey, we'd like to put a wreath in your yard to commemorate where this person had passed. Would you allow that to happen?
That is a great question. And I think I would.
Okay. Just being nice Midwestern people. Yep. I can understand that completely.
Yep.
Now, the next question is, for how long would you let that happen?
I would let it happen until I didn't see them coming around as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I would assume the first decade would be the most
that's
visible. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like after 10 years, if I haven't seen them, if after 5 years it's down to once a year or once, I think it would depend, on frequency. And
you'd have to mow around it. You have to get all this other stuff. So I'm making a huge leap, but for some reason this feels like this whenever this happens. I'm on this giant splash page in this comic. Both teams, dramatic, like we're going to, we've got ourselves together and we're ready for the big fight. So it's this, all the heroes united, Justice Society, Justice League, coming right at the camera, if you would. Guns a-blazing, everybody's in a fight, mode, ready to go. And in the bottom left corner, the artist signed it.
Yes, he did.
And I'm like, we already know you did it. We know you should be proud of every page you've done. There's something about it when they sign an interior page and it's like, no.
Yeah. Well, as an artist, why would they do that?
See, I can, there is something about like, I know this is going to be valuable. I know this is something that's going to make a poster. I know this is going to go out and it's going to be, the pinnacle of this issue.
Because I've seen Alex Ross do that.
But on an interior page?
Yep. I have.
Huh. Well, I'm not going to say he doesn't have an ego.
It shouldn't surprise you that he does that. I'm not saying often, but I have seen it. I've wondered, why did Alex Ross sign this one?
And I've seen, it quite a few times, I can't recall something right off the gates, but there is something about like it's usually when it's a giant page spread or it's something, and they'll be signed by the
Maybe something that took a long time to do, and you just at the end of it, you're just like, I'm signing this sucker.
Yeah,
Like I just spent 2 weeks on this thing.
Can't not sign it. That's
Right.
just ridiculous. But there are some aspects to this particular page that I have to call out, and it has like these are petty. These are, I'm going to give everybody this caveat up front. These are very, very petty complaints. They're flying towards those that can fly are flying right at you. Those that are running, they're on foot. They're coming towards you, and obviously the Atom is this tiny guy, so he's in the foreground just so he can be seen. There are several like defying all conventional wisdom moments in this particular page, and amongst them is I'm looking at Hawkman's wings, and I know in order to bring a human body scale to call in, like your wings would have to be massive, but every other shot of Hawkman, his wings aren't that big. In this one panel, his wings are massive. They are like 4 times the size of his body. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. I don't know if they explain that in something or if it's just artistic license so that you can see that his wings continue and it fills some of the void. That's perfectly fine.
Nope.
Okay. Then Stargirl, everybody is kind of like, in order to help give you a sense of depth, there's overlapping that happens. So this person is behind this person. This person is behind this person. Stargirl is like sectioned off in such a way that she's not overlapped or touched by anybody. So she can either be way in the background or she's the size of the Atom way in the foreground.
Yep.
And it just throws me off. And then the spear hook on the front of that staff is massive if that's coming towards you.
Well, let me tell you about that. Stargirl, like I said earlier, is based on Jeff Johns' sister who died before he became a comic writer. And he wrote Courtney's character as his sister. And so I'm sure he owns that character kind of thing. And I'm sure he said, Carlos, make her all alone in the center of the story.
I don't know if there's gusts of wind that shift, if there's different, like I know, like if you get it, I know you and your wife enjoy hot air balloon, in that there are different wind patterns, and that's how they navigate those balloons where they want to, by different elevations. You can go up higher and the wind goes to the left. You go up lower, the wind goes to the right. I don't understand how these capes are working. Batman's cape, no movement. It is actually like it's lead lined or something. Maybe it's leather, and it doesn't have.
It looks weighted down.
Weighted down. There is no flowing to it. Our Man.
Can I just say his Batman looks kind of chunky?
Yeah, that one does. I know it's kind of this forced perspective of his, but unfortunately, because of how low the bat symbol is on his chest, it just reads as if Our Man is actually clearly like he's having to fan his cape out in order to give a sense of it. But right next to him is Dr. Midnight, and his cape is flowing with the breeze, just flapping. Now, if you look right above Our Man, Captain Marvel's cape is going straight up, not back, but straight vertical. Superman's kind of going up, but it's also going back. Sentinel / Green Lantern is kind of just billowing Rob Liefeld style. Power Girl, hers is kind of flowing up and back. Then we get to Dr. Fate. His cape is actually flowing forward it is actually wrapping around his arms and shooting in front of him as if he's backing up. It's like you can almost hear that truck going beep, beep, beep as he's backing his self into formation or something. I don't know. Like his cape should not be doing that. And I feel like some of it was like I kind of have to hide this cape in some ways because but you could have just flapped it in front of him. There's no need for it to Dr. Fate's not getting cold and he needs to bundle up by wrapping his cape around him. Unless they did something where it's like, well, Spawn has a sentient cape, and it's got a mind of its
Doctor
own.
Strange. Yeah.
But it just seems like all the other shots, he's not really wrapping himself up in his cape. He's just.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got the billowing, like usually Batman's got the billowing cape that's all over the place. Can I just say this signed shot, not my favorite of his art. One of my least favorite images that he's drawn. I just like, and we cut on the capes and stuff, but I always wonder why we see the flashes at all. Like they should just be not even in the picture anymore because they're way faster
but they look
than
like
anybody
they're giving
here.
their effort is just as much as like that's your sole point. It's like you're faster than anyone.
Right. Yeah. That should be your sixth trip around the earth, and you're right there. There's a lot of gravity defying moments in that picture. But other than that, I don't know. I think everybody kind of looks weird and wonky. Superman's face is wrong.
The rest of it just becomes a rock'em sock'em robot until the end. So I guess that's why, Despero being the big thug as opposed to the skinny dude can make more sense in that he's able to just punch his way to a solution. Yeah, and then, it kind of wraps up, but they separate Lex. So Lex and Despero were actually combined. So while it wasn't like Lex was trapped somewhere else and he couldn't get out, but Despero was kind of inhabiting his body. And it's like, that was a different ability. I thought he was just mind controlling.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bodies.
I don't know about these DC books anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost. And unfortunately, it didn't affect the story. I will say that. I think all in all, it was a fun story. It was a fun, rock'em sock'em robots. It served what it was supposed to do, and that was entertainment. And you didn't necessarily need to know everybody and their abilities because, like, Our Man being able to predict the future, it's like, okay, I didn't know he had that power.
Not very useful.
No, he just predicted his own harm.
Right.
And like you said, it book ended well. It was like, hey, let's all get together as teams. Okay, cool. And then it ended with them all getting together as a team. Yay!
Why did I read this book?
Yeah.
No, our webpage is in the So I Love Comics podcast.buzzsprout.com. There's a send us a text thing at the very top. You could send us a text. Someone do it. I want to see what it looks like. Email us at intheswhyIlovecomics@gmail.com. Join us on the Twitter in the SwyL1. We're on the Facebook in the So I Love Comics podcast. On there, you can join in the conversation. You can see what's coming up. The TikTok Why I Love Comics podcast. We're getting a lot of some movement there as well. So thanks for all our TikTok people, all the people so far which have registered for the road to 100 episodes has been on the TikTok, except maybe one or two on the Facebook. So our TikTok group so far has the advantage on that. I will say for the road to 100 episodes, it's not just following us and it's not just, liking a comment. You got to comment back. You got to say something back to us to join us on the road to 100 episodes. We'll say thanks to all our supporters and friends of the show. You can thank producer Katie, producer Tony, co-hosts Matt 2.0, Matt 10.0, Kevin, Jamie, the Thunder Chicken. They let us use their tunes. Check them out on Spotify. All those links are in our show notes. And yeah, that's all I got. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Christmas. I'm sure we'll come out with a New Year's episode. And those are always fun. I think maybe some random books or a quiz or two. I think we should do that. It's been a while. Yeah. So for the show, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Right? We'll talk to you next time. We will.
Talk.
We can't believe it, and this is why I Love Comics is on the road to episode 100. And to celebrate this milestone, we're giving you a chance to win some awesome comic prizes. We're putting together a killer prize pack with at least 5 trade paperbacks and 1 signed item by comic pro Adam Hughes. And we pay for it all. Starting now, just let us know you're out there. Every time you interact with us, you get an entry. Comment on a post, send us an email or message. Tag us or mention us online in a different chat. You can even text us. Every single time counts as another entry. And if you leave us a review, that's worth 5 entries all by itself. The big drawing happens when we drop episode 100 later this upcoming year, so don't wait. Let Andy and Mike know you are out there. Start commenting, messaging, and spreading the comic love now.
Sounds good. I'm going to leave a pause here because if you look at the timer, somewhere along the lines, it stopped recording. I kid you not.